What's up, fantasy junkies? Welcome back to the Daily Fantasy Sweat podcast presented by What the Lou Media. I am your host, Kris King, for another NBA DFS slate, August 7th. It's a Friday. Looking forward to this one. It's a weird slate, but I kind of like it. I am sort of in a daze. I've just not been sleeping normal. Been taking naps during the day, sleeping very little at night, and right now I feel like I just took a Lunesta. What is that? No, what is it? I took an Ambien and like powered through. I think that's what you do, like when you take an Ambien and then you power through like the sleep and you fight it, and then you enter this like euphoric stage, except mine's a little more zombie-like, so, you know, I'm definitely hitting the coffee today. Oh, God, gotta warm that up. All right, welcome back to the show for another slate. It's going to be a fun one. Before we kick things off, as always, let me remind you about our contest over on DraftKings. If you're not a part of our league, go to DraftKings, go to Leagues, and search the Daily Fantasy Sweat. Join up over there, and every day in the morning we post our contest. It's a 20-person contest, 20 slots, $5, and we pay out to the top two, although yesterday I forgot to set it to top two. And BReal07, who took it down yesterday, was probably happy that I forgot to set it to top two and took home $81. So, like, it's not a huge contest, but it's fun. It's competitive. This is the second time BReal has taken this down with his Awesome-O logo, and he added just a little bit more to that bankroll. So that's what this contest is good for, just to pad that bankroll a little bit. And it doesn't cost you very much. So go join. Shout out to BReal for taking this down with a score of 323.75. He did it with Dame Lillard, James Harden, Cam Johnson, Kelly Olynyk, Brooke Lopez, Lou Will, Gary Trent Jr., and Miles Bridges. Wait, no, that's Mikal Bridges. Miles Bridges is at home in Charlotte. I guess he lives in Charlotte. He plays for Charlotte. So, yeah, congrats to BReal. Go join in today and see if you can't take it down today. One of the things that you might have noticed if you listened to the podcast and then you reviewed my lineup, but you probably didn't, but yesterday, and this is part of my my good calls that I made yesterday, and I'm going to toot my own horn for a minute. Yesterday, I was dogging Luka. I was saying he was not worth playing at that price tag. How the teams he played were, you know, the past three games were pretty weak, and now he's going up against the Clippers, and that was correct. He did not have a good game, but I did put him in my podcast league lineup, really because I was building from like the top down, and I put in Lillard, and then I found my value, and then like I was building from not top down, from the bottom up. And then I had Lillard in there, and I just had a ton of money left over. It was just the right amount to put Luka in. So I was like, you know what? Let's just roll with it and see what happens. So yeah, called the Luka tank game. Also called the top scorer on the slate. I said I liked Russell Westbrook as my favorite play, but he didn't wind up playing. My second favorite play was Dame Lillard. He was the top scorer on the day at 80 points. I said, you know, this these Denver guards, they cannot stop other opposing backcourts. So I'm not afraid of them at all. And Dame's phenomenal. He plays a ton of minutes. He is due for one of these 65 to 85 games at any point. Bam! Got there. James Harden was second with 74. De'Aaron Fox, 57. Giannis with 54. Michael Porter Jr., 54. Chris Middleton, 53. Kristaps Porzingis, 51. Bojan Bogdanovic, 49. Another good call. If you listen to the Showdown breakdown I did, I mentioned Bogdan for that, and because he had a slump the day before, and then he was just on fire yesterday from three. I think at one point he went 5 of 5 from beyond the arc, and then just continued to crush it. DeAndre Ayton, 48. Kawhi Leonard, 47. Zubac, 44. Malcolm Brogdon, 44. Gary Trent Jr., 43. There's Luka with 42 points. Paul George also had 42. And Yusuf Nurkic with 41. Those are all your top scorers who scored 40 or more. And we're not going to review yesterday's winner of the big contest on DraftKings because it is not fully updated. Let me just double check. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's actually correct just yet. And we deal with this sometimes when it's early, that we notice that just everything isn't finished calculating. It shows the top scorer in that had 322, and there's just no way that was the case on this high-scoring slate. So we're just going to move right along to today's slate. Let's look at some injuries we're dealing with today. Ben Simmons is out today. Rudy Gobert, and this is for the Utah Jazz and the Spurs. They're playing the Showdown, the early Showdown today at 1:30. All the Jazz they're resting their starters, or at least like their main three stars. Rudy Gobert is out, Donovan Mitchell's out, and Mike Conley is out. So that's going to make an interesting showdown today. Aaron Gordon is doubtful. Jared Allen is questionable. Joe Harris also questionable. Jaren Jackson Jr. is out, as we know. Dennis Schroeder is out. Jamal Crawford is out. We know Jonathan Isaac is out, and it's just about. Oh, Royce O'Neal is out. They're actually sitting him as well. And are they sitting Joe Ingles, or is he like the one guy who they're letting play? I don't see him on the injury report, so should make an interesting showdown slate today. Definitely, you're probably going to be leaving some money on the board. There's going to be that's a really good angle to think about, is that there's going to be a ton of value, and a lot of people are not going to feel comfortable with leaving money on the board. So there's going to be a lot of duplicated lineups. I think there's going to be just this combination that uses up like the most amount of money possible. And I haven't even looked at it yet, but I can only assume that. So really good contrarian play there to kind of mix it up and leave some money. You might not have the choice but to leave some. You might not even be able to play guys that would fill it up. I'm really interested to check that out. And we will do that either later in the show, or we'll do a separate episode and release that. But that's your injury report. Let's move on just to today's slate. We're going to go through position by position. We will. So yesterday we did tiers, which I kind of liked doing that, but there's pretty much the tiers today are so smashed together. What we've decided to do is go through tiers at each position. There's really only one stud on the slate today, and that's Joel Embiid. There's no Giannis. There's no Harden. There's no LeBron. There's no AD. There's no Luka. So it's Joel Embiid, and then a lot of the awkward guys, which I call them, that second tier, those 8K guys who normally you're kind of afraid to pay for because they're too expensive, and you might as well pay up for a stud. You're going to be probably working a lot of them into your lineup today, unless you want to go Joel Embiid. This is strategy, when it comes to how to build your lineup, and this is part of what DFS is about, not just picking the best players. We give plays based on stats that we see and opportunity, but by no means, am I giving you who's going to score the most points. Now, sometimes when I say Dame Lillard's going to go off, and he does, but that's just me kind of stroking my own ego. But every slate is different, and every slate you have to strategize in a very specific way. And today you have to think about the slate as a whole. So today, is Joel Embiid going to be the chalk? Since he is the only 10K and above guy on the slate today, is he going to be super high owned? Are people just going to want to build a balanced lineup across the board? Will people and if they do that, build balance across the board, does that mean they'll leave alone all the value that's out there? Which there's not much right now, but we'll see what happens. If some of these Brooklyn guys sit, if the Jazz were on the main slate, there would certainly be value there. Although I don't know how much I love a lot of those guys, outside of maybe Jordan Clarkson, but that's going to be me digging into that game a little bit more. But you have to think about what everyone is going to do. If people want to go balanced, will they just play nobody below 5K, and then so they can jam in, maybe one 8K guy, and they have, the rest of their lineup is built with like 6 and upper 5K guys, and is it balanced like that? Or are you going to reach for some value so that you can play maybe 2 or 3 8K guys? There's different types of balance that you can go with. So you need to think about that when building your slates today. What you think is going to be the optimal lineup, how you want to follow the right trends and leave behind the wrong trends, and find the couple pieces who will be low owned. All right, so let's start flipping through the positions here. We're starting off with point guard, and there's not much here. I don't really want to play DJ Augustine today. You saw his numbers come up a little bit yesterday. Markelle Fultz, because Michael Carter-Williams is out, and he's questionable again today. DJ Augustine sort of benefited by receiving a few extra minutes, and Markelle Fultz just stayed the same. They're not messing with his minutes at all. I'm not sure why, but he's kind of your future, your stud. Why wouldn't you give him this time to hone his game? I mean, he's been working on his game ever since he got traded, from Philly, and even before that. So why not give him this experience? Maybe they will in the playoffs. I don't know. But Markelle Fultz is not getting extra minutes. DJ Augustine is, if you want to play him. He has a 19.8 usage rate. It's not great. This is kind of a, Philly. I don't really love Philly. Orlando just doesn't sound like a game that I want to tackle too much, unless I'm trying to tackle. I mean, there's a couple guys on Orlando I like. DJ Augustine is just not one of them. We've already spent way too much time talking about him. Ish Smith is in a pretty decent spot. He's had a good run during this bubble. His fantasy numbers are up. He has got a good matchup against the Pelicans. He has a decent usage rate. Now, I just said DJ Augustine's usage rate of 19.8 was not good, and Ish Smith's is 20.4, but it's the pace also that I like, kind of mixed in with the usage is fine for both Augustine and Ish. Ish has a slight tick up, and I just trust that he may put up more shots. He's obviously got a higher ceiling, and he's been playing better than Augustine. So I gotta stop talking about DJ Augustine. So Ish Smith is in the realm of value point guards here today. Moving on, Tyler Johnson, who I'm still pretty much avoiding. His price has finally come down a little bit, but it's only 5.6. But his performance, I'm never really feeling Tyler Johnson. He does have a decent matchup against Sacramento today, so I don't know. Maybe it's a dart throw. Maybe people will be off of him, and maybe he'll get some opportunity. If people sit there, I like the price tag. You got the couple guys who are questionable, and Joe Harris and Jarrett Allen, so there will be more shots available. So maybe if both of them sit, Tyler Johnson becomes playable at 5.6. Shake Milton today, I really like. His role is going to completely change in Philadelphia. And I mean, he's the point guard, but Ben Simmons brings the ball up the court most of the time. And now he's going to kind of slide into that main point guard role. But his price on DK is $5,800. I don't love that. I don't want to trust that, especially in a matchup against Orlando, who we talked about yesterday. It's just, it's just kind of muddles everything up. But I don't mind if you play him. I just think he's a little overpriced. I'd like to pay around $5K for him, into the lower or upper fours, if that'd be even more ideal. But Shake Milton is playable today. I just don't love the price. What's going to happen with Kemba Walker? He's not listed on the injury report. He's supposed to be back. Are his minutes going to be limited? If so, he could still potentially pay off. He had a good game. I don't remember who they were playing. It was a while. I think it was Milwaukee. He played, 19 minutes and still put up over 20 fantasy points, which is pretty solid. So if he's going to get in the mid-20s at $6K, I mean, that's a pretty nice price on Kemba. And maybe people are just going to overlook him because they're not playing Kemba Walker right now because they either think he's still injured or because they know his minutes are going to be limited. Let's see what happens there and how that shakes out. Maybe we get a number on how many minutes he's going to play, and if it's high enough, he's certainly playable at $6K. Looking at the upper tier, this is kind of like the 7,400 and above. You got, Lonzo Ball there. The Pelicans are so hard to figure out. Do they even care right now? Like, it seems like they would rather just be home and not playing basketball. It looks like they're throwing these games because they just want to get out of this bubble and go home. The only one who looks like he wants to play is Zion because he's not getting minutes, and he's probably eager to play. He is his fantasy points per game are down 8.5 points compared to the season. As far as his averages go, he's got a decent usage rate. It's a great matchup against Washington. We should be all over these Pelicans, but do they care? I don't know. And if they do, who am I playing? I'm just nervous about them all. Yesterday, they just Sacramento blew them out to the point that all these, they had to send in their bench brigade. And I don't know what to do with New Orleans today. It's a great matchup. But they've been in a lot of great matchups and haven't shown up. So I'm okay going back to the well, but go being cautious because that well just might be poisoned. De'Aaron Fox had a monster game yesterday. He's only 7,600 today. They are playing Brooklyn. He's got a great usage rate. I mean, this guy might be one of my favorite plays on the slate today. At 7,600, it's not too overly priced, but obviously he's a guy who can put up 50 like he did yesterday, and you don't have to pay 9 or over 10K for him. So De'Aaron Fox here today, thumbs up there. Chris Paul's in a great situation today. I really like Chris Paul. Him and De'Aaron Fox are probably gonna be two guys that I play the most. I don't love his price at 8,100, but he's priced based on the matchup. The Grizzlies just they don't play great defense as far as guarding their distributors, and Kris has got a great usage rate. His fantasy points per game are up a little bit as opposed to compared to the rest of the season. Chris Paul's in a good spot. Ja Morant is not. Outside of the fact that he's always got the ball in his hands, and that's great, and his production has been up. I don't know. I'm so back and forth on. Did I say John Wall? I see Ja Morant, and sometimes I think John Wall. I have no idea if I did. I'm not even going to go back and check, but I'm talking about Ja Morant. Maybe I didn't even say John Wall, but I did that the other day and had to go back and correct it. So, yeah, I mean, you look at his game logs from this season, and sure, 45, 46, and 42, but there's a 28 mixed in there, and that was against the Pelicans when we thought that was going to be, an up-tempo game. I don't know. I wouldn't write him off, but OKC plays pretty solid defense, and I will have him a bit, but I like Fox and Chris Paul at their prices more. Ja Morant got a $500 price boost on DraftKings, so there's that. Kyle Lowry, the most priced up point guard on here. I'm not getting excited about him, but that doesn't mean he can't have a good game. This Boston-Toronto game will probably stay close, stay competitive, and you probably don't have to worry about a blowout here. And he's got opportunity to kind of go a little nuts. Kyle Lowry could be a great play today. So I'm not talking you off of him. I just don't see a lot that's getting me really excited. I don't know, but he certainly could be a good play. But probably my two favorite plays at point guard today are De'Aaron Fox and Chris Paul, given the matchup and everything else that they have going for them. Let's move on to shooting guard, which is actually my favorite position here. So keep in mind, if you're kind of building lineups, you're looking for value, maybe you're building lineups on an optimizer, and you can make an adjustment to where all of your util spots are shooting guard. You might want to do that because it's just stacked over here. Also, Troy Brown Jr. is in this mix, but he's small forward eligible as well as shooting guard eligible on DraftKings. So just make sure if you're playing Troy Brown Jr., who I love today, as I've loved just about every day the Wizards have been on the slate, his price just stays low. Make sure you're putting him in that small forward slot so you're not taking up a valuable guard spot here. But let's start with the cheapies for value. Josh Richardson could see an uptick in minutes because of the absence of... So we don't really know what's going to happen with Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons does so many things. He kind of is that, versatile guy who he can play 4 positions. I mean, he can almost play 5 positions. So what is it that we're going to lose from Ben Simmons being out there? We already talked about Shake Milton, as far as ball handling, he's going to kind of absorb that. Who's going to take the shots? Who's going to... be the guy to drive to the basket. You would think it, is probably going to be, Embiid's probably going to absorb some of that. Tobias is going to absorb some of that. Josh Richardson could absorb some of that. He hasn't been playing great since being back in the bubble. Richardson hasn't, but he averages 30 minutes a game. He does average 25.4 fantasy points per minute or per game, and that you would think that would be going up. That's got to be on the rise. And he's 5K flat on DraftKings, which is nice. Like I said before, I don't like the matchup against Orlando. I just don't like the pace of this game overall, but if you need, the savings, you could do worse. But you could also do better, because I also like Bogdan again today. He's 5,100. He has a 22.1% usage rate. Really good matchup against Brooklyn. He is obviously hot. Now, is he going to stay hot, or is he? Because he was really cold, 2 games ago, and then he got really hot. So is that going to stick? I kind of think it will. So I like Bogdan here for his price. Evan Fournier, he, just like Lillard, is due for one of those 45-point games that he produces every now and then. And wings against Philly is a thing. Now, most of them are wings that drive to the basket, and Evan Fournier is a little bit of a shooter. I don't think Orlando really has a good, solid wing that drives to the basket. Aaron Gordon's not really a wing, but he's a guy who can drive. But we don't even know if he's going to play today. So I'm kind of on the Evan Fournier train today. At 5,300, he plays 31 minutes a game. His fantasy points per game is 29. He's got a solid usage rate. Fournier. There's just a lot of guys I like here in this value range. You just go, guys like Richardson at 5K, Bogdan at 5.1K, Evan Fournier at 5.3K, Dylan Brooks next up at 5.4K, Troy Brown 5.5. Like, there's just so much value at the shooting guard position. Dylan Brooks just went nuts in that first game without Jaren Jackson. We were wondering who would take the extra shots, and it apparently is Dylan Brooks, and he really relies on his scoring because he doesn't do a whole lot else. But, against New Orleans, this is a solid matchup. It'll be fast paced. We know that. He's going to shoot a lot. Sorry, he doesn't play New Orleans. I looked at the wrong line. They play OKC. All right, so it's a little bit slower pace. OKC plays good defense. Man, I kind of wish they were playing New Orleans again. But I still don't mind Dylan Brooks at his price tag. He's got all the confidence in the world right now. He's probably got the green light just to shoot the lights out. I would feel better about Ja Morant, if he weren't as expensive. But Dylan Brooks 5'4", so why, I understand why you would pay up for Ja, but Dylan's a solid option too when you're trying to save a little bit. Speaking of being in a pace-up matchup, Shea in the same game, the opposite side, looks really great today. The Memphis plays no defense. Memphis plays up pace, and this is going to be great for all the Thunder. I mentioned how I like Chris Paul. If you don't want to pay up for Chris Paul, you can easily go to SGA for 68. I kind of skipped Troy Brown here, but I've already brought him up a number of times. His fantasy points are up in a big way. The dude's just, really hot. He's been given the opportunity to be the primary ball handler and play point guard, and he's going to probably continue that. So just keep locking in Troy Brown. I love all the Boston guys and the Toronto guys. I don't think playing any of their superstars is a bad way to go. So like Jaylen Brown is solid. It's a great way to construct your the core of your mid-range build or your balanced build today is by having a couple Boston and Toronto guys. So Jaylen Brown's another guy that I really like. One of my favorite plays on the day is Karis LeVert at 7.1K playing Sacramento. With, the potential of Joe Harris not playing, with the potential of Jared Allen not playing. Now, the only thing that does is affect his assists because he's passing to guys who aren't quite as skilled, and, if they don't make the shot, he doesn't get the assist. So That's one thing to look out for, but we saw when all these guys were out the other day, they just crushed and put up 73 points at the half against Milwaukee. So, I mean, these guys have potential to score, but it's just not a guarantee that they will. So, but I like LeVert at 7,100 at that price tag with the almost pushing 30% usage. And when you're comparing him to these guys who are more than him, his usage just crushes theirs. I mean, he's 7,100 and has a 29% usage rate. Fred VanVleet, 7,700 with a 22%. Drew Holiday, 9,300, 26. So Drew Holiday's priced up to 9,300, and he has a 26% usage rate. And Drew Holiday, just like Lonzo Ball, as we talked about earlier, his fantasy production is tanking. It's through the floor. He's not really producing. So LeVert is in a great spot here today. Also, like VanVleet, I mentioned Boston, Toronto guys, good to go. If you feel good about playing New Orleans guys, Drew Holiday apparently has a really good matchup today against Washington. These guys have... God, New Orleans just frustrates me. You would think they'd have something to prove after like sucking big time, especially yesterday against Sacramento. So maybe they come out and ball today. So I'm going to have some for sure, but I don't feel great about it. Moving on to small forward. This is where if you want to dumpster dive, you can a little bit because I'm not playing Matisse Thybulle. No way. Not going to even go there. But we're looking at guys like Dort, James Ennis, and Isaac Bonga, all who have really improved on their their fantasy points per game since being in the bubble. They have 2 out of the 3 have really exceptional matchups at their position in Dort and Bonga, and they don't carry the greatest usage. James Ennis has the best, but just looking at their minutes and everything combined, I'm going to put Dort number 1. If you're going to dumpster dive, I'm going to put Dort number 1, James Ennis number 2, and Bonga number 3 as far as my confidence level in them. If you want somebody who you can maybe be a little bit more excited about as far as value goes, and I don't know why you would be that excited, but Kyle Anderson at 4,400, his role is apparently going to expand with Triple J being out of the lineup. They kind of thrust him into that 4 slot sometimes when they go smaller. So Kyle Anderson is definitely in play. Had a good game the other day, but you still got to go with caution here. OG Anunoby's in the mix. He doesn't have anything that stands out as far as like a good matchup. I mean, his usage rate is what it is, but he doesn't need usage because he doesn't need scoring to get him fantasy points. He plays 30 minutes a game and averages 24 fantasy points per game. This dude gets blocks, steals, rebounds. He scores a little bit, and if he does have a decent scoring game, he can get you up in the 30s or even beyond. Joe Harris is questionable today, but it's a solid matchup against Sacramento if he does play at 5,300. That's not bad. And when you're looking up at the top tier of small forwards, you got to put your trust in one of 2 guys, and they both have not been playing well in the bubble, and that's Jason Tatum and Brandon Ingram. So you got to figure out which one is actually going to get it together and do something with their minutes. And I'm not sure which one I trust, actually. I mean, Brandon Ingram is in the far better matchup. I feel like I trust Tatum a little bit more, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Not excited about trying to fit either of these guys in, but they've been disappointing, so maybe other people feel that way, and you lock them in at low ownership, and you bring in all the money. Let's move on to power forward. Pretty much starting here with Brandon Clark, who disappointed the other day. He was playing the 4 as opposed to the 5. He seems to be more comfortable at the 5, but I just don't know how much time he's going to get with Joe Val. If Joe Val ever sits or anything like that, I'd be all over Brandon Clark. He's 4,900, so still at a decent price tag. I just like the dude, even though he really hurt my feelings the other day. but I wouldn't mind playing him here or there. I will not have him in 95% of my lineups like I did the other day. Manja Bielitsa, solid game yesterday, playing against Brooklyn today. Don't mind that at the 5K price tag. As far as the mid-range at power forward, we're looking at Gallinari, Rui Hachimura, and Gordon Hayward. Hayward obviously has the most upside here. Not the best matchup. That belongs to Rui. But, Rui's been up and down. He's kind of a guy that I've been playing because, man, if you remember back to earlier in the year, he would have monster games, and his price was in like the 7K range, like their first and second game back. But then it dropped to the mid 5Ks, and now he's 5,900. He has a solid matchup against New Orleans, and has a usage rate of 18.7%. And I think he could be a solid contrarian play today. Gallinari also in that same boat of, well, he's not in that boat. He's in a boat of, he's just Mr. Consistency. He's, we talk about this every time we mention Gallo. He's the model cash play, always scoring in the kind of the, low to mid 30s. Occasionally, he drops to the 20s, but has potential to get up to the 40s. So Gallinari's in play at 5,600, especially in a pace matchup against Memphis. Actually, I really like that because 3-point shooters in like transition like that can really get hot and find themselves with a lot of open looks, and that against Memphis, I really like that. Your upper tier at power forward, you're looking at Zion, Pascal Siakam, Tobias Harris, and DeMar DeRozan. DeRozan has quietly been one of the better plays in DFS that nobody's talking about. DeMar DeRozan's not playing on the main slate, so scratch that, but we'll get back to him in Showdown. So I hope I haven't mentioned too many other Spurs or who are they playing? The Jazz in my talks here. But yeah, Zion, Pascal, and Tobias. I just can't. Man, Zion, he's gonna have limited minutes. Obviously, they're treating him like a freaking China doll over here. Not letting him really get out there. They're like helicopter parents. They're just like, oh no, oh hold on, don't, putting their arms around him, just blocking everything. Don't get hurt. I don't want you. Jeez. But against the Wizards, if he gets 25 minutes, he could do some damage. He could put up 35 fantasy points. But he's 8K. Do you want to invest that much money in someone who's not going to even sniff 30 minutes? It's just not somewhere I want to go. But maybe he's low owned. I don't know. He's probably going to get some ownership. Pascal Siakam is really the guy who I want here today. It's, we've mentioned about the matchup. The matchup's not great for either guys on Boston or Toronto. They both play pretty good defense. But a little stat that I'll pull out here in a minute. Actually, why don't I just pull it out now? What am I waiting for? Top fantasy teams, or the teams that give up the most fantasy points. I was sort of going to wait till the end to talk about this, but this may help you decide, what guys you want to roster and what guys you don't. As far as the guys playing today, who give up the most fantasy points, Brooklyn Nets are at the top of all teams, so they give up more fantasy points than anyone in the bubble right now. The Sacramento Kings are second. The Memphis Grizzlies are third, and I'm only talking about guys who are playing today. Memphis Grizzlies are third among teams on the slate today. Washington Wizards are fourth. The Celtics are fifth. They are in the bottom half of points scored, and top half against points scored against. The Bucks are better, the Magic are better, the Pacers are better, the Lakers are better, the Suns are better, the Heat, the Pelicans are better. Man, the Sixers are better. Jazz, Toronto, Thunder, and Clippers are all better than the Celtics. So I really like Toronto players today. I like both teams. I don't know how to stress that because they both, they both have reputations of playing good defense, but it's not like no one's going to score. So, given that stat right there, I really like Siakam probably the best, and I love Tobias Harris too. It's a revenge game. I mean, he's played Orlando so many times that really almost doesn't matter. But he's going to get some extra usage, some extra touches, some extra shots. some extra opportunities for rebounds and assists. So Tobias I like as well alongside of Pascal Siakam. I think if you're kind of paying up for someone who you can actually be confident in, these two might be the two that I like. If I'm kind of, going to lock people in for, that 8K range. Jason Tatum might be in there. It scares me. I don't want to be a game log watcher, but he's had one good game this year and 2 games at 24 points. I think another game at 34 points. His good game, he put up like 56 or 57, but that doesn't mean anything. Tatum still could have a good game today. I think Chris Paul's in that mix for guys I would pay up for. Let's move on to center here. Let's see. At the value, you can go Marc Gasol, Rashawn Holmes, Derek Favors, Daniel Tice. I think if anyone sticks out, it's Favors. Centers against Washington is a thing. Rashawn Holmes has not been good at all in the bubble, but he's playing against Brooklyn, who also you can attack centers against. Not sure I'm interested in Marc Gasol. So if I want value, I'm probably either going Favors or Holmes. As far as the mid-tier, you're probably looking at Steven Adams, Jarrett Allen, Thomas Bryant, and Joe Val. It might be time to go back to the well on Thomas Bryant. He's proving himself. He's getting minutes there. Really solid matchup against New Orleans. His production has just been amazing as of late. Joe Val's got the highest usage out of these mid-tier guys, so I kind of like that. Tough matchup against Steven Adams. I probably don't want to go Steven Adams here. I don't know. Just nothing's jumping out at me. And at the top end, the studs, you have Vooch and Embiid. And Embiid is, we've talked about him. He's the highest guy on the slate. If you think he's going to smash Orlando, he has a 31.8% usage rate. His fantasy production he's had like one game that really elevated that as far as averages, but he averages 47.1 fantasy points per game. He's averaging about 30 minutes. You probably want more minutes out of a guy that you're going to pay 10K for. That's kind of the only thing I worry about are the minutes. He's probably going to get a little extra production. He's a good play, but I'm just, unless like amazing value opens up, it just feels like such a mid-tier build today. Now maybe paying up for Embiid is contrarian. I don't know how it's all going to shake out today with value. If any opens up, not sure. But as far as my favorite play at each position, working our way backwards, at center, sure, it's Embiid. I don't know if, you pay up for him today. If you don't, you want to save a little bit. Thomas Bryant, and I also like Derek Favors. Maybe that double center playing Favors and Bryant against each other could work out. It worked out when with Miles Turner and Thomas Bryant. We did not go over the second unit guys who I like. So let's run through that really quick. New Orleans, obviously that matchup is solid. That's a matchup that's like extremely paced, and we've been talking about it. So, and I don't know, guys in their second unit, I feel like I count on more for their price as opposed to guys in the first unit. JJ Redick and Josh Hart are both at 4,100. They're both getting upper 20s minutes. They both had good games yesterday. So if you need to save a little bit, I know it's not super savers, but they're 4K or they're 4,100. That's solid. You could certainly do worse. So they're in play. Grayson Allen, man, he's been balling as of late. And, the matchup's not great against OKC, but that doesn't mean he can't get some shots off. So Grayson Allen at 4,400 is certainly in play. Norman Powell's 4,800. I like that game. He's got solid usage coming off the bench at 20.9% usage rate. Jerome Robinson, they seem to really want to get him involved in New Orleans. And not in New Orleans. They're playing New Orleans today, but in Washington, they're playing him alongside Troy Brown. I thought he was just sort of a guy who was backing up Troy Brown, but he's been getting decent minutes. His fantasy production has been way up. His price has come up a little bit. He's 4,900, but he's certainly in play today. The other guy for Orlando that I think could be good if it's not Fournier would be Terrence Ross, just another wing who could take advantage of Philly as a 21.7% usage rate. He's also in play. Buddy Hield didn't see very many minutes yesterday, so I'm wondering if maybe he gets more today, or if that was maybe a punishment and he's in the doghouse. You never know with Buddy Hield. This guy can blow up for 40 fantasy points, or he can take your lineup. Marcus Smart is not really. I mean, if Kemba's coming back today, I don't know how much you want Smart unless they say, Kemba's on. I guess you could still play Smart. You definitely don't want to play Wanamaker after he had his blow-up game the other day. Boston is not gonna. This is not gonna be a blowout, so he's not gonna get garbage run. And they're not playing. Who were they playing the other day when they blew him out? Was it Brooklyn? I can't remember, but it was a blowout, and he got a ton of garbage run. So you don't want Wanamaker, and I don't think you want to go with Smart with Kemba coming back, but you certainly could, especially if he's going to be on a minutes limit of 20 or less. And Al Horford, he's a guy who could kind of clean up for Ben Simmons. Also, I mean, he's been a second unit guy. But still plays along Simmons sometimes and could get some extra shots up. And, he's worth it at 6'6" if you want. I'm not super excited about Horford, but he is in play. My favorite bench guys, I don't like a lot of them. Oh, I missed one. It looks like I scratched him out, but I actually underlined him. And that's another guy I brought up on the podcast yesterday, very reluctantly, and just sort of like swept it under the rug. But Diallo for OKC, he put up 20 fantasy points yesterday in like 17 minutes, I think. And they're playing Memphis today. No Schroeder. Again, if you need to bargain hunt, if you need to get in Embiid and, excuse me, maybe one or two of those 8K guys, maybe Diallo's a guy you look to. You don't feel great about it, but it's certainly possible. Okay, favorite bench guys. I think I really like. I like Terrence Ross. I mentioned that, and I think I might like those New Orleans guys. I gave you my favorite center plays. Let's look at power forwards. I like paying up for Siakam. Maybe Harris, Gallinari if you want to save some coin. At small forward, you can. If we're bargain hunting, I like Dort and Ennis today, and it's not great at small forward. You're either gonna have to pay up. Maybe you like Joe Harris in that situation if he plays. It's Kyle Anderson. Yeah, small forward is not looking very solid today. Shooting guard, I love everyone, like I mentioned. Josh Richardson, Bogdan, Evan Fournier, Dylan Brooks, Troy Brown. Good thing you can play Troy Brown at the small forward slot. SGA, Jaylen Brown, Karis LeVert, Fred VanVleet, Jordan Clarkson if you're playing Showdown, Drew Holiday if New Orleans gets their act together. And I mentioned I like Chris Paul and De'Aaron Fox at point guard. Ish Smith and Shake Milton if you want to save a little bit of money. All right, that is going to do it. That wraps it up. If you want to hear me break down some showdowns, check out our condensed version. You'll hear what you've already heard here in a condensed version up front. You can certainly scroll past all that and get to the showdown slates. We'll definitely talk about the 130 slate today. I may pick out another one that I like today where I think I can find an edge, and check that out. It'll be on the podcast feed just very soon after this one. Make sure you're doing. I need to do this more often instead of just saying it really quick. If you can leave us a rating and review, that'd be amazing. That helps other people find us who are not actually searching for our name, but that will make us pop up in the stratosphere of DFS and fantasy. So just a quick 5-star review would be amazing. Or a rating, 5-star rating, and a quick review would be awesome. Share us with your friends. Follow us on all the social medias. We really got to build up that Facebook page. There's like literally 10 people over there. So follow us on Facebook. Send that to all your friends. I got to figure out a way to build that up. Our Instagram's not bad. So follow us on Instagram and on Twitter at the DF _sweat. And we will see you back here, well, either later today if you're going to listen to our showdowns, but we will be back right here tomorrow when other fantasy sites don't necessarily do weekend shows. We try to get them in when and where we can. So we'll have some breakdown here tomorrow. So we'll see you back then. And until we meet again, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and may all your GPP dreams come true.